These sounds are coming from Gobistan, Azerbaijan, where primitive man is composing his first songs under the melody of the holy rhymes that will be called notes by future musicians. Azerbaijan becomes the beginning of the world music civilization, the dwelling of the primitive human. There is a flower in the world with a special beauty. This fantastic and wonderful flower doesn't grow anywhere except Karabakh. This wonder and mystery of nature is called the Kari Bulbul. We are going to tell you about the homeland of the flower, Kari Bulbul. The region is mountainous and situated in the Karabakh mountain range. Boyuk Kirs is the highest peak at 2,725 meters height. Shirlan and Turshu, mineral springs, are also in this territory. With 450 hectares, the Shalti State Nature Reserve, created in 1988, is also located in this region. From ancient times up to today, this city has attracted historians and tourists of the world as a center of culture and recreation. In 1747, the Iranian ruler, Nadir Shah, was killed in Khorasan. His death caused a weakening of the empire. Nearly 20 khanates were established in the territory of the Safavid state. Karabagh Khanate was one of the largest according to its territory. This khanate was founded by Pana Ali Khan. The foundation of a new fortress was laid in the most picturesque area of Karabagh, at the top of the highest mountain in 1750. Pana Ali Khan invited the most popular masters and builders from Tabriz, Ardabil, and other cities to participate in the building of his new fortress. The northern and eastern parts of the fortress were surrounded by high walls. The fortress had two strong gates, called Iravan and Ganja. The local people called this newly built city Panahabad in honor of Pana Ali Khan. The city of Panahabad was situated among the Rocky Mountains called over the centuries Gala, Shishe, and known today as Shusha. Over the years, Muhammad Hassan Khan Qajar, Fatali Khan Afshar, Aga Muhammad Shah Qajar all attacked the fortress several times, but couldn't occupy it, their attempts ending in failure. Through the centuries, this city has become one of the most important political and cultural centers of Azerbaijan, and its story is an inseparable part of the history of Azerbaijan. During the rule of Pana Khan, the city of Panahabad became the main trade center of the region. According to information given by a visitor who was in Shusha at the end of the 18th century, there were about 2,000 homes and more than 10,000 people living there. The streets of Shusha were a bit larger, and the roofs of the homes were not flat, but of a different shape and design from other Muslim city streets of the period. After Pana Khan's death, his son, Ibrahim Khalil Khan, ruled Karabagh from 1760 to 1806. During this time, the Karabagh Khanate became even more powerful and influential. After signing the Treaty of Turkmenshai with the Gajars in 1828 and the Edirne Treaty with the Ottoman Turkey in 1829, Tsarist Russia completed its occupation of the South Caucasus and then decided to use the Armenians as a tool for strengthening their position there. According to the treaties mentioned above, the Armenians living in Iran and Ottoman Turkey gradually migrated to settle in the historical territories of Azerbaijan, most notably in Karabagh, Yerevan, and Joitse. The Russian researcher of Caucasian studies, Shavrov, noted that out of 1.3 million Armenians living in the South Caucasus in the 20th century, only 300,000 moved to this region. During the rule of Russia, Shusha became the administrative and economic center of the whole Caucasus and developed greatly. Tsarist Russia's expansionist policies affected both the administrative status and demographic situation of Shusha. After the liquidation of the Karabagh Khanate, the city became the center of the newly established Karabagh province, and Shusha district was formed in 1840. During the Soviet era, the administrative status of Shusha underwent changes several times. In 1921, for instance, Shusha was designated as the center of the newly established Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region. However, in 1923, this decision was revoked at the instigation and persistence of Armenian Bolsheviks in the Kremlin, and Kankinde was selected as the center of the region. Thus, Shusha was deprived of its status as the center of Karabagh after 170 years. There were 300 historical monuments, 550 ancient buildings, fortress walls measuring 870 meters in length inside a 350-hectare area in Shusha. 23 of these historical monuments were recognized as being of national and world importance, most of them dating from the 18th and 19th centuries. The natural springs in Shusha are especially remarkable from an architectural point of view. Khan Gazai Bulagi Spring, built by Khurshudbani Natavan in 1873, has 12 stone fountains, measuring 15 meters in length and 4 meters in height. Tersu pastures, Sakili Bulagi, Isa Bulagi, Shamalin Bulagi, and legendary Jadir Duzu used to be favorite resting places for both locals and visitors. Tersu is known as a recreation and resort center. It is situated 40 kilometers distant from Shusha, on the main roadway of Lachin. On the left, there is the Dashalti River. Tersu is famous for its mineral and medicinal baths. There are 17 estates in Shusha. Each estate has its own mosque, bathhouse, and caravanserai. Despite the colonial policy of Tsarism, in the middle of the 19th century, the Azeri people would find an opportunity to use both Western European and Russian culture in the development of the region. Scientific and literary activity in Karabakh, especially in Shusha, was extended. Firidun Bey Kosherli, the great writer and literary critic of Azerbaijan, was inspired by the beauty of Shusha and called it the Shiraz of the southern Caucasus. For the first time in the history of the Azerbaijan people, there were established theaters, circus performances, European and Eastern concerts, scientific, educational, musical, and artistic assemblies, libraries, printing houses, vocational schools, a seminary, several other cultural educational enterprises, all were established in Shusha. Since the middle of the 19th century, the different branches of art continued to develop in Shusha. Local amateur theaters showed performances and presentations from different genres around the world. The number of theater performances increased after the construction of a new theater building by Kanademirov, one of the rich inhabitants of Shusha, in the spring of 1891. From elsewhere in Azerbaijan, people came to Shusha in the summer to escape the heat and because Shusha was the recreational center of the area. Even the young people studying in Moscow, St. Petersburg, Warsaw, Vienna, Berlin, and Paris returned to their hometown to spend their summer holidays and enjoy the recreational activities of Shusha. The local amateurs performed not only the works of the Azerbaijan writers, but also the great plays of Europe and Russian classics. It is not accidental that for the first time in Caucasus, Othello, by the great William Shakespeare, was staged in Shusha. For the first time, Othello was staged in the Azeri language on September 1st, 1904, at Kanademirov Theater. The profession of kaninde, a form of folk singer, was developed in Karabakh, particularly in Shusha, rather than other regions of Azerbaijan. This was related to the geographical position, as well as the widely cultural economic relations of the city. Vinogradov, the prominent musician who was closely acquainted with the history of Azerbaijan music, wrote about the music history of Shusha and the role of Shusha's musicians in this region. Shusha musicians have laid the foundation of the history of Azerbaijan's music, but also early represented it in many other Eastern countries. Related to the development of the kaninde profession, there were several music schools, halls, circles, and artistic assemblies in Shusha. The founders of the music schools in Shusha were Karat Gulu and Molla Ibrahim. Professor Bulbul stated that students between the ages of 13 and 14 took lessons at Molla Ibrahim's, but after the age of 14 moved to classes at Karat Gulu's school. Karat Gulu Muhammad Oglu was the distinguished musician of his time. Haji Husu, Mashadi Isi, Sadi Jan, Abdul Bagi Zulalov, Jabar Gareagde Oglu, Kechachi Oglu Muhammad. All of these men occupied a prominent place in the vocal music of Azerbaijan. After Karat Gulu's death, the Musicians' Assembly was established by Mir Muhsin Nawab, the most prominent scientist and musician of the time. Aesthetic problems of the music profession were discussed in those circles and assemblies, with great attention given to the masterly performances of kaninde's singers. Shusha, known as the Conservatoire of Caucasus, developed a number of talented and world-famous musicians. We note the names of the following popular and distinguished musicians of the time: Jabar Gareagde Oglu, Said Shushinsky, Zulfu Adigozevov, Khan Shushinsky, Bulbul, and Rashid Babudov. Prominent and world-renowned opera composer Uzair Hajibeov was the first in the East.
Benim bu saat fikrim Bizim gəlebəni bir opera şeklinde
Today, my great wish is to write an opera dealing with our victory.
Türkçe olarak çalışıyoruz.
We can also mention the names Maestro Niazi, Fikret Amirov, Afrasiyab Badabeli, Vasiv Adigazelov, Suleiman Alesyarov, famous Tarzan, Gurban Piramov, all were among the other great masters whose fame crossed the borders. The first concert in the East was held in the summer of 1901 in Shusha, Azerbaijan. In the first half of the 19th century, science and education were also being developed in Shusha, side by side with theater and music. There were many Russian schools in the region as well. A district school named Uyezhny Uchilish was opened in Shusha on December 30th, 1830. The seminary was opened in 1838. Gorodskoye Uchilish, Nachalnaya Uchilish were both started in 1876. A sixth-class Realny Uchilish was started in 1880.